The dog days of summer. Let me tell you about my dog days of summer. Yeah, growing up in the 1970's. Back then, we didn't have air conditioner. No. My grandma didn't. That's just the way it was in the 1970's. And it would, I love summer. Like a kid, last day of school, summer break. But it's going to be a hot one. And, now let's fast forward to today. You people are probably going to complain about your electric bills. But I got news for you. You better be thanking God that you got air conditioning. Because I grew up with none. We didn't get a home air conditioner until the 1980's. I'm trying to think, 1980. When did we get an air conditioner? Was it the early 80's? Before I turned the camera on, I was trying to recall. When did we get an air conditioner up here in Ohio? Or after we moved? Well, anyway, it was either the early or mid 80's. But let's go back again to my childhood, the 1970's. We'd go over to my grandma's on a Sunday, go to church, and Sunday evening. And back in those days, you sat on the porch. You did not sit in the living room. My grandma, my mom and dad, they'd all be on the porch. When our neighbor come over and sat with them, they'd keep a pitcher of ice water. You just drunk ice water to keep cool. And us kids would play hide and go seek, and it'd be hotter than, even in evening time, it'd be hotter than a firecracker. You just got used to it. And we'd be so sweaty. No air conditioner to go into. None. A fan blows, but that's really no good. All it's doing is moving air, which makes it feel cooler. But no, I grew up, there was no, I didn't know anybody. I was trying to recall. I know my grandma didn't, my Aunt Jean didn't. I'm trying to remember if my dad's mom and dad in northern Kentucky had one. I don't think so. But you didn't have air conditioner like you got today. No. I mean, it was just, I loved I'm very proud, and I loved growing up in the 1970's. I really did. But when it comes summertime, oh my God. It just, it was just miserable. I mean, it would be so hot that we wouldn't even ask, when we'd go to church like on a Sunday, my dad would take us over and he'd leave and he'd go fishing. So my dad didn't stay. He'd take off and go fishing and stay. He never stayed at grandma's. He would drop us off and come back about 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night. But it would be so hot we wouldn't even ask Mom if we could go bike riding. It was just so hot you had to. Just to ride a bicycle. It'd be 4 or 5 of us, just to let the air go by you to cool you off. We'd ride, this over here in Mainville, Ohio, Warren County. We'd ride up to the cemetery just to get on a bike and have air going past you. A little air felt cooler. It was just too hot to, play the toss of baseball in the yard. It was just too hot. So we'd get on, and the handlebars would burn you. They'd get hot, but it'd be so hot. Us kids, we had to get on bicycles and take off. The cemetery wasn't that far, probably a mile and a half. Just have the air going by us, the coolest off some. That was my dog days of summer. I don't miss that. I don't miss the heat. I miss, I'm trying to say this in the right way. I miss the summer times, but I don't miss the heat. Does that make sense? It would be so hot. All through the 70's. For old as I can remember getting on the bike, I mean, we're talking about I'm 8, 9 years old, and we're on a bicycle riding to the cemetery. So we're talking about the early mid 70's. I didn't have to worry about Dad. Dad wasn't even there to ask if we could ride. We just got on the bikes and rode. Didn't even ask. Once in a while we'd ask Mom, and we'd go anyway. It would just be so hot. You have to. Us kids had to. You get on a bike and let the air go past you. You're still sweating. That was my dog days of summer growing up. The 1970's wasn't all perfect. It was a simple time. I loved growing up in the 70's. I really loved it. But God, no way to cool off, no air conditioning. It was rough.